Well, Fáilte isteach, go music at Madden's. We're not in the snug upstairs in Madden's this week. We've been let out and we've taken Madden's on the road, and we're up on the north coast, we're up in Ballycastle at the Lír Sessions, which have taken over the town here. And also the sun is shining, so not as many people in as we'd hoped, but here, look, we're going to have the crack. So delighted that our two guests have joined us here today. Two brilliant women I have been dying to talk to on this podcast for a very long time. So I'm so glad that you were up here and this has all worked out. We've Dee Havlin and Clodagh Warnock with us today, so you're very, very welcome. How are you both?
We're great. The sun gives everybody out and a reason to smile, doesn't it?
It does, Clodagh. Yeah. Honestly, there was lovely tunes just outside there in the yard a few minutes ago. Everybody's kind of just taking in the whole vibe. Yeah. I think we was playing down on the seafront there earlier as well.
We had a gig down on the open air seafront. I mean, it's fantastic. The environment here is brilliant. You know, the whole setup is great. They really have coined it, how they've managed to run. It's a great place for a festival,
isn't it?
And we come up back and forth to Ballycastle quite a lot. Well, I do with some of the musicians that I play with from Inishowen, and we always treated really well with the music. They love music around here and culture
and the music's been here for so long.
Yeah.
I remember playing in the pub across the road, McCarl's. It was McCarl's then, O'Connor's now, and fantastic musicians like Leo Brown, Dominic McNabb, PJ Hill and Lawrence McHenry, who kept the music going for a very long time, and it's just the music in the coast is vibrant. It's very much alive.
Well, you can say that as an authority, Dee, because you're a Ballymoney girl. I am. So you could say the tune, just not just out the road.
Yeah.
So whenever you see something like this, you know, that and this focus on music and traditional music and tunes and performances, people coming from all over to your neck of the woods, like what does that mean to you?
Music today, it's so inclusive and diverse. I mean, everybody's got an opportunity to play these days. I mean, as a flute player, I remember whenever I started off, it was a male-dominated environment, the flute playing anyway. But now, as I say, it's open to all ages, male, female. And I think that's what's lovely about it.
The big change in music is that it's actually become cool now.
Yeah.
Whereas years ago, whenever I would be walking up the street with my little battered fiddle case, people would think I had a machine gun on it. Yeah. You know, and where you go mad, and all sorts of funny looks. Whereas now, to be carrying an instrument is really, really trendy. And it's a thing that you can take all around the world. You can go anywhere. You can walk into any place you've never been, and you're guaranteed to get the best seat in the house. Yeah. They'd give you a drink, they'd give you some food, and God knows there's been many a night they've had to give me a bed as well. So. And it works. It's a passport.
No, but it so is like and whenever you were learning, whenever you were both learning music, so Dee, you from Ballymoney, then Clodagh, you've got Derry, Donegal. There's kind of this is a whole separate podcast. So Clodagh, where are you from? Who are you really?
We don't have enough time. When I was born in South Derry, where you have roots as well, I was born in Mahara, but we did spend a lot of time in Inishowen whenever I was very young, because my mother's brother was a priest in Moville, so Granny was his housekeeper. So we used to spend a lot of time with Granny over there. So that started our love for going back and forth. And when I was about 11, Mommy and Daddy started to move over. I'm the youngest in the family, so they moved over, you know. So it was just a natural progression for us to move. And the music's fabulous at the minute in Inishowen as well.
Yeah, well, you have played a major part in that as well, Clodagh, and we'll get to that. But whenever you were learning music, like, who would you have learned? What age would you have been whenever you picked up an instrument for the first time?
Well, I started actually on piano with my mother. I was only 5 at the time. So started with her, and then when I was 7, the cultus in Portlanone started. So we went in there, and my aunt is, of course, Anne O'Brien. So she was my first fiddle teacher, and probably the biggest influence as well. Because when she taught music, she didn't shout at you if you couldn't do it, because I usually couldn't do it, but she seemed to encourage you more so.
Okay.
You know?
So the family connection was there as well, going over to Portlanone. You know, I love this idea too, where musicians have no problem jumping in the car and going anywhere for lessons, for flaws, for festivals, for
Because you'll always
anything.
know someone there.
I know.
It's like a big family, musical family.
And then what about you? How did you decide to play the flute, or how did you end up playing the flute?
My father just absolutely loved the music. He used to tell me about the days when he was very young and they didn't have a radio, and he would listen through the wall to the neighbour's radio to Keeley House on a Saturday night. And I went to lessons in Dunloy Coltis. I went with my sisters. The three of us went up, and they were not happy playing at all, and I absolutely loved it. So I inherited my father's love for the music. And as I say, we travelled the length and breadth of Ireland, going to all the flas and festivals, and I suppose that's where you'd meet up with your friends. And it wasn't just about the music, it was a social occasion too.
Yeah.
You know, it was all about the fun as well. But we'd jump in the car. It'd probably take us twice as long as anybody else who travelled to the fla. But
and everybody, you never saw you without seeing your daddy.
No, definitely.
You know. But there's a very funny story about what age did you start playing?
8.
8. So did you get a flute from Santa?
Oh, I used to get every instrument from Santa.
Yeah.
I was looking for the doll. The doll arrived a couple of days later because I got every instrument and Daddy felt bad, and then Santa arrived with the doll. But yeah,
but there's a famous story. I think Seamus O'Kane was involved with getting you a flute, and they gave you the flute. Santa brought the flute, and about 3 or 4 days later, her daddy Jimmy phones Seamus and says, "I've got a wild problem." Seamus says, "What, is there something wrong with the flute?" "No, there's nothing wrong with the flute, but I can't get her to stop playing it." Yeah, that's true. Seamus will tell you that.
I think
so she just took off.
Do you know what it is, Clodagh? We need a side project here of just stories about Seamus O'Kane. Because I'm counting
Legend.
most podcasts. Somebody mentions Seamus O'Kane in some way in every podcast. It's just incredible. But it's suppose whenever, and it goes back to that idea of, you know, in the traditional music community, the spirit of sharing things, of encouraging children, of wanting them to get on. What can I do for you? How can I help you to play music, to be a musician? You know, how instrumental was that in, you know, you two becoming the musicians you are?
Oh, well, I just know that the most important thing to me, and what I remember, going to a session when you're very young and being welcomed by the players in the session, and that's why I got a great welcome here in Ballycastle, and as I say, Dunloy, and everywhere, most places that you went, there was a welcome for you, and I think that's so important. You maybe not feel that at every session, but that's what I run a session in Portrush in the Spring Hill Bar, and fantastic, and again, music around the port is just so alive, and that's what I try to make sure that everybody's got a welcome, young or old, whoever, and it doesn't, regardless of your ability, it's inclusive, and you are very welcome to start a tune and join us. And as I say, to me, that's a must. You know, that welcome.
Both of you are heavily involved in music in your own communities now. So yourself here, Dee, in this area, in Ballymoney in the North Coast, and Clodagh up in Inishowen. But I want to take you out of the session and away from your communities. And you've already mentioned the O'Briens in Portlanone. And I want to take you back to the days where you decided that you were going to form a band and got involved in a band. How did you two meet, and how was Déanta formed?
Well, Déanta was formed a long time ago, and it actually came from... I was very lucky, because I was going to say there just about when you were growing up, it was very fortuitous that whenever I started learning my fiddle, Rosie Mulholland was in the classes, Owen O'Brien was in the classes, and Katie were in the classes. So we all started together with great enthusiasm and being supported in that way, and it just naturally progressed. We went in for a competition. We used to be called Scaff Chiclo back then. Went in for a couple of competitions, did well in the competitions, and the next thing we got we won something that we could go in and make a demo tape. So off we went to Randallstown to make the demo tape. I was no age, I was maybe about 12, I would have been the youngest in the band at that stage. They were all in their 40s. And, it just progressed. We were lucky. We were lucky at the time that we were doing it because there wasn't massive competition, you know. So just clicked along. At that stage, our flute player was a fella called Paul Mullen from Dunloy, who was in school with Owen in St. Louis. Things changed. We also had Mairead McMahon, who's now Mairead Walls. She was whistle and singer in the band. And
Roisin Mullen.
And Roisin Mullen, absolutely, right at the beginning. So things changed.
As they do.
Yeah, we always obviously knew about Deirdre because everybody knew about Deirdre. She was so successful and so good. And she was a wee bit younger, but still she was winning everything around her. You know, a couple of months, I think. You've overtaken me now.
I know, look me.
But we were in need of a new flute player because Paul had to leave. So Deirdre came in and Mary Dillon came in, just took off, and it was great. But as I say, it was the time at the time. There maybe would have been ourselves, Alton and Dervish, you know, that were doing all the running every weekend to festivals all around Europe and America, etc. So
that's exactly the point, though, I was going to raise with you, Clodagh. You know, you say there about we're all very lucky, we're all in the same class, and you all got on well, and you know that was the route. For Déanta was that camaraderie and that, I suppose, that comfort with each other and understanding each other and your music. But whenever you looked around, you know, we're not in the world of internet. We're not in the world of seeing other things. We're here in the north, in Portlanone, in what, the late 80s, early 90s. Yeah. Completely different landscape and world to what the one we're living in now.
Absolutely.
So even the idea of forming a band, Clodagh.
Oh, I know.
Do you know, people must have said notions.
Well, I think it was just a way, look, this is something we can do, let's try and get out. The four that I mentioned, myself and the other three, we were also involved in the Ulster Youth Orchestra. So, and there were a lot of very, very talented classical musicians in that. We were not one of them. But we would have toured around Europe with the Ulster or with the Youth Orchestra. And in the evening times when, you know, people were getting ready for bed, we pulled out the instruments and started playing tunes, which the other community and the orchestra thought was amazing because they just couldn't do that.
Yeah.
So I think that, in a way, bonded us even more and said, hey, you know, we could actually do something here and we could maybe get back to Europe and do these things.
Exactly, because you had that experience of seeing how music travels. Yeah. And then all you had to do then was maybe look at the Altons and then there was a wee seed planted. We could do that.
Absolutely, yeah. No, we were just in the right place at the right time, and by God, you needed about 5 podcasts to hear the stories. Poor Owen, the only fella in the band, driving us around. He was the only one that didn't drink.
But that was handy, was it?
Oh, well, it was, but you know, because he's all into healthcare and he owns a pharmacist now. But every morning we'd be coming down and he'd be giving you, get that vitamin C, you need that, and there's this you need, and that you need, and what. Like he was like a clucking chicken sometimes, trying to gather us all up and trying to get us out the door.
He did look after
great.
us.
Oh, he certainly did. You know,
and he was a driver, and
you
as
know,
I said,
he was
he made
good.
sure that you got home at the end of the night and
he was great.
Cup of tea in the morning.
Yeah, but like I'm thinking, you know, you've Owen in the band as the only man there, and you know,
I think he loved it.
The Spice Girls came later in the 90s, but before that we had the trad Spice Girls and Déanta.
No, he was the biggest woman of us all, to be honest. and we always used to say, "Blessed art thou among women."
And in fairness, you know what? Can I say to anybody, the last time I saw Déanta was one of those lovely reunion concerts she did, and it was at the John O'Neill Donoughmore weekend. And honestly, Owen got some touch that night on stage, and he sat and he took it, and that was part of the entertainment. It was class.
Lynette, we all get a lot of stick. When Clodagh's on the mic, you know you're in for it.
Oh no,
I got a lot of stick today down the seafront, but sure. It's all good fun.
But you know what? That is part of it, isn't it? Whenever you know people so well, you can have the crack like that.
Yeah.
But then, Déanta, so you have the friendships, you have the musicianship, obviously, and the talent. But instead of taking, I suppose, the traditional route of being a really traditional band, your arrangements were groundbreaking. And even today, you know, on the way up here, and I'm sorry, I was listening on Spotify, but the only album on Spotify is A Whisper and a Secret. And even breaking it down and listening to it again, I was like, listen to that. Like, that is just unbelievable what they're doing there. And how the flutes responding to the fiddles. You know, even the Willie and Mary I was listening to coming up, and the bouzouki, and that's just... Clodagh, it's class. Like, it is beautiful. The backing for Mary Dillon's fantastic vocal. But all of that stuff doesn't come about very easily. So was that something that you set out to do by design, or is that just the way it happened?
Well, I can take no credit for that. I remember you and Owen, Rosie.
We used to have separate
hours.
practices.
Yeah.
So we would have backing practices, which would always start with about 10 cups of tea and conversations about stuff. And then you go, Jesus, we better need to get something done here. And then we would come together with, you know, the lead instruments, or Mary would come in, and I don't know, we just connected, you know.
And Katie would have been responsible for doing a lot of it, you know.
Great harmonies.
The harmonies.
Yeah.
And she helped me there.
Yeah.
I just had to play it.
So everybody had their own individual wee superpower that they brought to the collective.
There was no egos. If you were sitting playing something and they didn't like it, they'd go, no. And that was it. You just had to take it.
It's not working.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we were very pedantic about going over things and go to try that again. And, you know, you're saying it's the time before, we didn't have any mobile phones to record things. And even at the time, you'd be saying, there's a nice tune in that album, but it would be a tip. And you'd be searching through, pressing, where is it? And then, of course, we're trying to learn the tune. And the next thing, the tape would break on you, and you'd be getting the sellotape out. And, you know, that's, I think, why we never have the right versions.
I think that's why we were so focused, because you didn't have you weren't on your phone at all.
And, you know, it was a difficult time growing up, as you know. And this was just something different and something fun to do.
Fun as well.
Was it pure escapism?
Yeah, it was, I think.
From everything that was going on here.
Yeah.
Like, the backdrop of the Troubles here was just pure depression in the late 80s, early 90s, for any young people, for everybody, but particularly for young people.
But also it gave you a great opportunity to travel, even if it was just around Ireland.
Yeah.
You jumped in the car and you were able to get out of that for a day or a weekend. And that's what was lovely too. And it wasn't as if you were going somewhere that you didn't know anybody.
Yeah.
The musicians flocked to whatever flower you were going to, whatever festival, and you had a warm welcome, you know, there. So that was lovely.
Yeah, it's just camaraderie, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just, you know.
But then even taking the music, you know, from the local to the global stage, you travelled a lot away from Ireland and outside Ireland, and that was a big part of the Déanta brand, where you were in demand in other countries as well. Even seeing that demand for our music in those countries, did that change your mindset towards music?
Well, it certainly enthused you, because, I mean, it's not even at that time the music wasn't really being accepted here, but you could go to Germany or, oh gosh, anywhere, France.
Like you said, it was a passport.
It really was, but you were playing, like, there's one festival we played in Thunder, and festival there were 10,000 people in the audience. Like, they were so far back that you couldn't see them. That was the night we played Christy Moore and Look at Bloom. And the two boys weren't speaking to each other. And it was a great crack. But that's the sort of things you did, you know.
And you never took it for granted.
No, it was great.
You know, you as you say, you soaked it in, and it was lovely. And the number of people and good friends that you meet, and we still have a lot that we've met on tour.
It wasn't even like nowadays where it's so easy to jump on a flight and you can get your Ryanair or your EasyJet, whatever, £19 return.
There was many missed flights.
There really was. You know, it was hard, and we were either students, well, Deirdre and myself were still students while the rest of them were working, but then when we started working, I was jumping on a flight.
Yeah.
Mary Dillon and I used to fly from Derry into Aldergrove. Believe it or not. What? Yes. She was coming out of school, and at that stage I was a dentist, and I would come out of, we would go over to, used to be Eglinton, City of Derry Airport, fly in to Aldergrove to meet up with the rest of them, and then we would fly off to Sheephole or
come here, how rock and roll is that?
It was
Seriously.
great. You were literally getting up when you had to come down again, you know. Like, I know. Yeah.
Why did I have to get the bus then?
I know you're working it out, Aye. There's something just not fitting here.
You arrived late, dear.
But do you know what? Even that lifestyle, even doing that at the weekend,
At that age,
from your job,
Yeah,
maybe as
I
a
know.
teacher or as a dentist, you didn't work on a Monday morning. How was your weekend?
I know.
Did people actually believe you?
No, they didn't. They thought we were away in the head, like, you know. So, no, it was great. Like, and when you went to these festivals, the funny things, everybody had their own thing to do when you got there. Like, something typical to what's going on here, except on a bigger scale.
Yeah.
But there would always be stalls and wee trinkets and stuff like that. And Katie would be away with her wee purse.
Shop.
She would be away looking through things. And Rosie would go with her a wee bit.
Yeah, but the only thing about all of us, we would buy the tiny little things, you know, whether it was a wee top or a, necklace. Katie used to buy furniture.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
she did, yeah.
Furniture, and we had to carry this
Try and get
furniture.
it bloody home.
Yeah, had to get it home and had to nurse it on our knees in the minibus.
Yeah.
Katie, I really hope you still have that furniture. Because that would be the price of it, really. She probably does.
And then the downside of it was Owen and I would have to go and do all the PR stuff if it was radio things. Or
I'd say that was really hard for you, Clodagh.
really hard. Yeah,
As you can
absolutely. And well, Mary would be in the bar somewhere, wouldn't she? She would be just enjoying herself. So it was everybody went there, but then we would meet back and so it was just good times.
But what did it feel like from the inside of the band? Whenever you are doing all these gigs on international stages, did it feel special at that time for you?
It did. You were treated very, very well. Like you were,
And there wasn't many people doing it, travelling that way. Nowadays, there's so many bands on the road, and there wasn't. So, as I say, we didn't take it for granted, but you did know that it was special, and we were good friends, and we kind of did our own thing. But then,
I think Connor was telling me last night. Connor Mallon was saying that he's just back from a tour or whatever.
It's all over.
Whatever, 6 weeks. We never really did anything like that. We used to fly in for a weekend and back out again. We were jet setting a wee bit, back to work on Monday morning again, looking in somebody's mouth. Thinking, where am I going on Friday? When you go to the hairdressers and say, you doing anything nice this weekend? Well, actually, I'm flying to Switzerland. They would never believe you.
Get me. They probably wouldn't have believed you. But there comes a point in life, though, where you can't do that. That's not sustainable.
No.
And you can't do that all the time.
It's called marriage and kids.
It's called just things changing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, you go through it, and it's only when you get older you realise that was great at that time and it was right at that time.
Yeah.
But then it was time to do other things.
Absolutely.
And you have to move on.
You do.
And it is that capsule. And we'll talk about the different things you've gone on to do since. But Déanta did get back together there, and I'm hoping that there's going to be more reunion gigs as well, because they were deadly. So I'm just putting the pressure on you right now on the public record. Yes, do you agree? Yes, I hope so. But the thing was,
write new tunes.
that was the thing. Yeah. You were saying that, just come off the stage at Donoughmore and you were giving. I said, no, we need new repertoire, we need new tunes. And I would say, do you? Because all the audience wants to hear is those tunes you played, those arrangements, just again, and even seeing you on stage. There was something really powerful. I was standing at the side, and I was standing beside the Smith girls, beside Annie and Aoife and Maeve, and I was looking at them going, sure, mummy up there. Because Rosie was up rocking it on the keyboards. I was going, that's sure mummy. Like, how cool is that to be used to see your mummy, up on the stage there with the rest of these brilliant women and Owen and on the stage. But when you were up there, what did it feel like? To have that, for time to have passed, and for you to be back together again.
Well,
doing,
for a start, very nerve-wracking.
Scary.
Yeah,
I was going to
really
say,
scary.
Yeah.
I think the older you get, you maybe do become a wee bit more nervous, but then it just flows. Then you get into it, and when Clodagh's in the mic and you're having a laugh, and also you trust each other. There's a great trust on stage, and you know that if you're feeling a wee bit shaking something, you just have to look. Or if you're thinking, do we go on to the next tune? Somebody's giving you a nod. So it is that. It's that trust on stage.
It's just hard. And you're sort of saying, do you need new material? I remember one of the last gigs we did, and I think we were in Switzerland, and we came off. It was a lovely sort of outside garden area. And this man came up to me and he said, you play bouzouki? And I said, yeah. He says, you missed a chord in the second half. You didn't do the F minor. And I thought, Jesus, somebody's actually listening to me. I thought, you're just winging it, and then you suddenly realise, oh my God, actually, they are listening. So then suddenly there's a pressure.
Yes.
It started to not be fun, So I think when you do a reunion, maybe it's never going to be as good as previous. Maybe we put pressure on ourselves.
Yes.
Maybe that's where the pressure comes
definitely.
from,
Yeah.
Yeah, because we played down at the seafront today, and you're thinking, oh God, did that sound okay? You always do put pressure.
Yeah.
And then actually, I think when it comes to it, you just enjoy it.
Yeah.
You think actually there's people smiling out there, and I think we
Were
do
they
enjoy
laughing?
it and probably enjoy it.
There's a generation now of musicians coming up. There's a generation who were your contemporaries. There's another generation younger than you coming to the music who have listened to the Déanta albums, who know exactly who the two of you are. And they're looking at you going, they're legends. So, you've done so much for music, and at a time when it wasn't trendy. It wasn't a thing to do. I think we've guests coming in here, and Kevin Mosley's coming in and making himself known. Would never ever come into a room quietly. would not be the forte. You're welcome, Kev. But the point I'm making is that you two, and haven't played the music for so long, you're trailblazers, and you are the very women as well who have been the ones that youngsters, particularly young girls, look up to.
Well, just listen to the young ones out there playing outside, Katie Sands and the group. I mean, they're taking it to another level, which is amazing. And and there are so many opportunities for younger people and for all of us, and that's just amazing. That's brilliant to see. But the music these days is it's a real.
I think technically the kids coming through today are way superior.
Yeah.
They've analysed all the flaws, and they've sorted them all out.
Mr. F sharp.
The only thing, absolutely. The only thing is, sometimes I feel there's not a lot of heart in the music. They're quite, mechanical. But I don't agree with you, the fact, particularly my point, from my point of view, I'm not a trailblazer. Nobody nowadays knows who the hell I am.
Well, they should.
No, but they
And
don't.
you know what?
That's
Is
fine.
true.
That's absolutely fine. They're looking at the other generations below us. We're old dolls now. Well, she is anyway.
And I was out of the music for a good bit. I'd moved to Yorkshire. Not that there's no music in Yorkshire. There's plenty of music in Yorkshire. But when you're out of it a bit and you come back to it, it is nice. It's lovely that you get the welcome. We walked past the young ones and they were, send us to come and join them. And that, that was lovely. But
mentioning they're moving away and coming back.
Yeah.
But you moved over to England. You lived over in England for a long time, for a good few years.
PGC.
I went over, to university, and I stayed for about 6 years. Come back, and
She
then
lost her
went back
passport.
again. Went back again, and I loved my time over there. Yorkshire people are very similar to us.
Met your husband.
I met my husband.
Brought him back with you.
Yep, and now we live just in Ballymoney, down the road.
And then how have you found your relationship with music since you came home then?
Whenever I come home, and we're probably home about 13 years, Theo was 2, and the music, there was a lot of music still about, but I got involved with the Causeway Trad, and I think because you were in the environment, you knew a lot of people, you had the opportunity to go out and play, but also when you have family, I wanted Theo to be introduced to the music. I wanted him to, and he's mad about the music, I wanted him to have the opportunity, whether or not he was going to play, he was going to listen to it. And I think, you want to go to every festival, every flower, every session, and if that means that you can bring family with you and for them to share in it, that was just, a real motivation for me. And the number of people on the coast, I teach at the North Coast Trad along with Sorha and Martin Meehan. The number of people now, and especially a lot of retired people who are getting into the music, and the last 10 years, you can see a real surge in the numbers playing music. So,
and do you think that's just because of exposure, that it's because it's more readily available? If there has been a curiosity there, then you can go and ask the question, you can go and seek it out, you can go and see what this is all about.
Yeah, I suppose it's the social media has helped, to access it.
Like everything to do with culture. If you look at across the board with the GAA, like the cool camps and the young kids playing, that's way more accessible. Irish language way more accessible, and the music's definitely way more accessible.
Yeah, I think that's the word, accessible to everyone.
It's not hidden away where you have to go and seek it out anymore.
Yeah, and also you don't have to be an expert. You can come along, sit in if you want to listen. Fine. If you want to play a tune, that's grand, and that's the way it should be.
I think too, when we were growing up, like we would have gone quite often over to the Cross Keys, Friday, Saturday night, and when I first started to work, I came back and I lived in Mahara for a couple of years, and we used to be in the Cross Keys 3 or 4 nights a week just playing music, and it's like when you were growing up in the Troubles, there was nothing else that could take you into this particular arena where you could go in and you could sit beside a middle-aged Protestant man, and there was no question about what school were you at, whatever. Our language, common language, was the music, and nobody cared. And as soon as you went out the door, it was very different, and I maybe would have been 13, 14 years of age, and I would not have thought anything about sitting beside different people as long as we were playing music together.
And that's something you definitely experienced growing up here.
Definitely, because I know we were talking about it. The lovely thing about playing music is you could be sitting in a session with someone you don't know where they're from or anything about their background, but you do know that you've shared a great session together, great music, a laugh, and you might go on your way and maybe not meet that person for another year or whatever. Yeah. And you just start back again. To the conversation, and again, you don't have to go any further than that's a great tune, or just having fun, having a bit of crack. And Clodagh's the best one for that, keeping us going. So that's lovely.
So tell me about Inishowen then, Clodagh, because it's serious work going on there.
There was
such a movement of kids coming to music. And so much pride in the music of the local area as well.
Well, that's the key thing. For a long time, we didn't know anything about the music that was there. And following a bit of research at the time of the centenary of the 1916, we did a bit of research on it, and we discovered a lot of music that had been collected in the area from 1850 to 1890. So this was collected by a lady called Honoria Galway, and the really exciting thing about it is Honoria Galway was the daughter of the Church of Ireland rector in Moville. He was a Cork man. He'd come to Derry, he'd married somebody from Derry. They'd ended up, his first parish was in Moville, and they rented a house. And that house that they rented and lived in for 25 years is now our family house, and we didn't realise the association until years later. So the house is called Gort Gowan, and that my mother and father bought that probably back in the early 80s, and there was several years of renovations of it, and that's our home house. We never knew that there was any music associated with it, but this young girl was used to follow around a bit like you on her father's coattails, and he obviously was able to go in around the different fairs, and she went with him collecting music from the itinerant musicians. And not only did she collect it, she notated it, and she brought it to America, and we were able to trace her journey to America, to Bosie, and got it all published. And then for 100 years it lay undiscovered in the archive in Dublin. And after a bit of research, we were able to get a lot of her tunes back into circulation again.
Who found it? Who discovered it?
Well, the question came from Roisin McGrory. Roisin is really instrumental. Roisin Harrigan, she set up an organisation called the Inishowen Traditional Music Project, herself and another girl, Angela McLaughlin. That was set up to really try and promote and preserve the music of Inishowen. And through that, that's where the query came. Our own Inishowen lady, Grace Toland, at the time was down there, yes, in Dublin, and it was through her. I got a phone call one time from there, just sort of saying, "Would you know anything about this person who lived in Moville and collected music. And I said, I don't know, when are you talking about? 1850? I says, Jesus, what age do you think I am? Like, well, would you know anybody around there? I says, give me the name and I'll ask. I don't think there'd be anybody still alive. And as soon as she said Galway, Galwey, the penny dropped big time, and I became really excited. Wow. I actually then decided I was going to stop being a dentist and start to teach music. I think Honoria moves through me. So, quite seriously.
But how has that changed your life?
Massively, because at that stage, when that information was coming out, I had one child. I was living at home in Mommy's house. My father had just died. And I just decided, I think I was pregnant with the second one. I now have 3. And I decided, these guys are going to play music, and there's nobody else in the town playing music. And I don't want them to be the weirdos. So I'm going to have to start a music school. So I was on maternity leave, and I thought, right, now is the time to start this when I've got 6 months off and whatnot. But sure, I just couldn't go back to work. So, and that I have a music school called Cullen School of Music in Moville, and we've a harp ensemble there now, and we're 140, 150 pupils each year. And then just 10 miles up the road, Roisin McGrory is doing exactly the same thing in Clodagh. Mm-hmm. And there's just so much music in the show, and there's so much opportunity for the kids. And we do a lot of projects. We've just finished doing a massive orchestra project with Martin Turish, where we took Denny McLaughlin's music.
Oh.
Fabulous Denny.
Who we lost a couple of years ago.
Only a year ago. Just passed in January time. And Denny was forced to be reckoned with, very fond of the drink and very mischievous, but oh my God, the talent. For a man that had never, he was born just outside of Buncrana, for a man that had never really travelled that much, his educational ability, the way he could write his poetry, write his songs, his tunes, just phenomenal. So we had a full hour of orchestration done from his music by Martin Turish. Now, this was a slight rerun of something that we had done a couple of years ago, where we had taken Honoria's music and some of Denny's music, and also some of the other composers that have since passed away in a show. And we have had a massive orchestration with 100 musicians in the orchestra and 50 choir members. And these are not professional musicians. These are all students of ours that could play. They could barely read the music. We were writing A's, B's, C's under tens of thousands of notes. And we got that to the National Concert Hall in Dublin, where we played in front of Michael D. Higgins. And it was just phenomenal for a lot of the kids to be involved in that. So this was a rerun of this after we decided for Denny that we would try and honour his music. And it's fabulous.
Brilliant.
I have to say so myself.
But it's brilliant also to bring that collective together. And there's a special energy when you bring the community together for anything. But then when they're all playing music,
their own music
of the area together.
Yeah. And there's something very special about Inishowen, because we've got very high mountains and deep lakes, that it's very rugged. And it's reflected in the music, high points, low points, and you just have to come and visit.
All the emotions are there. And you are obviously paid by commission by the Inishowen tourist industry, have you? Are you? Yeah.
Yeah, what planet are you on?
Constantly flying the flag. Constantly flying the flag.
I'm looking at what you are able to do here in the north. No, we are struggling to get any funding. Now, the Arts Council are very good in that they do give money towards, there's lots of different pots, which I'm sure you can access here. It's difficult to get. You have to keep developing each year. That's very difficult when you've got something you want to try and keep going, but you have to move away from that, and it's all voluntary.
What keeps you driving on though, and dedicated to it when you could easily give up?
Because my kids are now 17, 19, 21, getting so much out of the music involved. I see, so many, it's as you're saying, it's accessible to everybody. In our orchestra, we have all ages, old, young, and it's like coming together. There's a real sense of pride that you're able to do to play your own music. It's and I love it, and I love it for the reasons that we were talking earlier. That you're able to go anywhere and you meet people, and it's like a conversation you can pick up 3 years later.
Well, like Honoria Galway's music came down through the generations to you.
Yeah.
Your work's going to go down through the generations to others as well, Clodagh. No, for sure, because that is what happens, and that's why it's so important to do this work, and also for it to be acknowledged.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad you've shared with us exactly what you're doing up in Inishowen. And like to yourself as well, then Dee, coming home here, you know, getting involved again in music in your own area, it must be just a great way for the the whole circle to come round again.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I was never from a musical family, and as I say, my father loved it so much. But coming back again and seeing what's happening on the coast, so many festivals, and as you say, just playing today, and we've so many visitors to the area, and that's why I think there is so much music. Tourists just absolutely love the music, and we do. All the local people do too. But no, it's lovely coming back to that, and it's a real therapy. Music to me is my therapy. I was out of the music for a little while, just busy with other things, and coming back to the music, and it's just very therapeutic.
It steadies you.
Yeah.
And final thing I want to ask you, Dee, because we're wrapping up now, and thanks to both of you for coming in and having this chat today. And it's the lovely thing about these conversations and music at Madden's, where you don't know where it's going to go, and it could go any amount of directions. But I wanted to finish up because you are going to play a tune for us.
Yeah.
You tell me, we were talking about this and we were trying to work out what you're going to play, and you decided on this tune for a particular reason. Would you like to share that with us?
The tune, the one that we're going to play now. Please remind me.
Was the Home Ruler?
Oh yes. Well, actually, the Home Ruler. We could actually play the Home Ruler. The Home Ruler.
I've just said that.
It's a good job you reminded her.
That was my understanding. We've agreed on. But anyway, good to know. Good to know you went a different direction there. Okay.
Clodagh made me change it. Home Ruler was composed by a man from Ballycastle, Frank McCollum.
So it's not Cal Hayden's.
It's not Cal Hayden's. It's a Ballycastle man composed the Home Ruler, and it's actually called Granny's Rock, which I think you can see from the seafront. Does anybody else know anything about this? I'll definitely have to.
She got a job in the tourism board.
See, this is it. The local knowledge. It all comes back to it.
And as I say, he called it after his wife. She was the Home Ruler.
Granny. Oh, Granny.
So
she was the Home Ruler.
Yes, and I didn't tell Clodagh that we're about to play that one.
Oh,
there you go.
So
she did telepathically, but it didn't quite get on there.
But the man who composed it as well, though, he has an interesting background.
Frank McCollum. Well, it was Johnny Murphy that had told me that he was actually he played on the 12th. We'd have gone marching on the 12th of July, and like my teacher John Kennedy, renowned singer and musician from Cullybackey, I'm very proud of their music, and as I say, that's what we're just saying. No matter where you're from, what your background is, this is for everyone, and that's the lovely thing. And you get that when you step into a session or go to a concert, whatever. None of that matters. It's definitely it's lovely to share that love of music.
Well, it's been great to share the chats with the two of you today. Thanks so much for taking time to have a conversation. And I know you, once you play this tune, you're straight down to a session down the street as well.
That's right.
These are Conor Mullen's working you here at the Lír Sessions in Ballycastle. Dee Haviland and Clodagh Warnock. Thanks a million.
Thank you.
Thank you.